Hello, it's good to be with you here on Connect Africa live on DSTV channel 421, GoTV channel 125. I am Blessed Soga, and tonight ECOWAS is decrying the involvement of external powers in its latest political developments within its region, as it says West Africans should be responsible for peace building in their own territory.
You chase France out, then you welcome Russia, and then others. And I must tell you, no power, however their intentions are benevolent.
We'll get you the very latest on that as we discuss the fallouts from a high-level regional dialogue on the geopolitical developments believed to be influencing developments within West Africa shortly. But first, let's get a wrap of some of the major stories making the headlines across Africa.
More than 400 people have been killed in recent attacks by the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, RSF, in Sudan's Darfur region, according to the UN, citing credible sources. Last week, the RSF launched an intense ground and aerial assault on refugee camps surrounding the city of El Fasher in an attempt to seize the last state capital in Darfur, held by their rival, the Sudanese army. The two warring sides have been locked in a bloody power struggle since April 2023. This has created the world's largest humanitarian crisis and forced millions to flee their homes. The UN said it had verified 148 killings between Thursday and Saturday, but warned the toll was much higher. The Maldives has officially prohibited entry to Israeli passport holders expressing support for Palestinians in light of the conflict that escalated following Hamas's violent actions on October 7, 2023. The Maldives has declared a ban on Israeli visitors to its luxurious tourist islands, expressing strong support for the Palestinian people. President Mohamed Muizzu signed the law shortly after parliamentary approval on Tuesday. His office stated, quote, "The ratification demonstrates the government's unwavering position against the ongoing atrocities and acts of genocide perpetrated by Israel against the Palestinian people." The Maldives reiterated a steadfast commitment to the Palestinian cause. The revised Immigration Act prohibits entry for individuals holding Israeli passports, but those with dual nationality can still enter using documents other than the Israeli ones. 4 suspects, including 3 foreign nationals, pleaded guilty to a charge of trafficking highly sought-after ants out of Kenya. The men, 2 Belgians, a Vietnamese and a Kenyan, were arraigned in court Tuesday. They were arrested at the international airport in Nairobi for the illegal possession and trafficking of live queen ants to sell as exotic pets. They will be sentenced on April 23. Kenya Wildlife Services described the case as a landmark trial. The agency said it highlighted the growing threat of biopiracy of native species. Authorities say the insects were meticulously concealed in specially modified test tubes and syringes packed with cotton wool, allowing them to survive for up to 2 months. A single insect can fetch up to $200 on the black market.
And back from the east part of the continent, we bring you to our sub-region, where some experts have identified the exit of 3 Sahelian countries, Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger, as imminent threats to peace building and also integration within the West Africa sub-region. Well, at a high-level dialogue organized by the West Africa Network for Peace Building on the recent geopolitical issues facing the sub-region, there is a push now for all actors to come on board to address some of the fragmentation developments happening within the economic zone. There's more in the following report.
After 50 years of existence, the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, is currently grappling with disintegration, the latest being the exit of Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger to form the new Alliance of Sahelian States, AES. These developments and many others have prompted a high-level dialogue convened by the West African Network for Peace Building, WANEP, which is attempting to unpack the contemporary geopolitical dynamics while recommending solutions.
The geopolitics of West Africa is changing. France is no longer what it used to be in this neighborhood. France is being asked to leave. At least French soldiers are leaving. How can we turn this moment to our advantage? And how can we take care of what I will call our own family problems? Because at the end of the day, we are family.
Also alarmed at the fragmentation taking place in West Africa is the Commissioner for Political Affairs, Peace and Security at the ECOWAS Commission, Ambassador Abdel Fattah Musa, who's worried the situation may renew the cycle of dependency on foreign powers.
The whole issue of the dependency syndrome, you know, because today, when we are talking about the differences between ECOWAS and others, you chase France out, then you welcome Russia, and then, you know, others. And I must tell you that ECOWAS never closed the door to collaboration on security and humanitarian matters with the Sahelian states. Up until they left, they were participating in the Accra Initiative, which was based here. ECOWAS always invited them to this meeting. No power, however, their intentions are benevolent.
Looking forward into the future, OneUp is hopeful that all stakeholders will open up to citizenry participation in a bid to drive transformation across West Africa.
Yeah, I think it forms part of the complex mix of issues that we are dealing with. They are political, they are social, they are economic, they are even cultural. And I think they all form part of that cauldron of issues that we are dealing with, and therefore we need to open ourselves up to new possibilities and new opportunities. It's important that particularly for the space holders, when I say space holders, I'm referring to those that are particularly within the political spaces of leadership. I think it's important that during this difficult era for the entire globe, really, it's important that they open up themselves to engaging and dialoguing with particularly the citizens, because ultimately it's the citizens that live these experiences and look to the leaders to guide or lead the way as they live these experiences. And
Well, joining us now is Dr. Festus Obin, Regional Coordinator, Research and Capacity Building at OneUp. Thank you so much, Doc, for spending some time with us. A high-level dialogue indeed it is, but a number of emerging issues. But clearly on the table, we see that West Africa appears to be suffering from what some would describe as fragmentation. You agree with this?
Yes. I mean, if you listen to the conversation this morning, I think one of the key issues that came up was the exit of the AES countries, that is Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger.
Right.
And you know, ECOWAS will be celebrating 50 years, this year. Since its inception, we've never had some of these experiences. And so the potential exit of these members of ECOWAS is a threat to regional security and also the kind of cooperation we've had over the past 50 years.
The question as to what our status is in terms of peace building across West Africa now, would you say that all actors are coming on board to secure that?
Yes, I think that currently we have a bit of a challenge when it comes to peace building and issues of peace and security within the region. There have been a lot of efforts, in the past from our development partners, also from individual member countries and also from ECOWAS. But we still have some of the challenges that are continuing to escalate, like issues of violent extremism, which was mentioned this morning during the discussions. We also have issues of climate insecurity, the youth unemployment issues, and all the other issues relating to transnational organized crimes and all that. So despite the effort we've made over the years, we still have challenges which continues to threaten the peace and stability of the region. And civil society organizations have also played very key role in all this. But I think if you look at what is happening globally in terms of dwindling funding for civil society activities and all that, it makes it very challenging to sustain what we have done over the years and the gains that we have achieved.
Is this not becoming more of a rhetoric than action? Because many are asking for the solutions. Where can we find them? And, it's not as though we're not aware of, what to do and what not. Yes. But it's about the action now, isn't it?
Yes. I perfectly agree with you because like someone would say, we have the solutions, but when it comes to implementation, it's always a problem. I think our problem mainly has been the political will of member states of ECOWAS to implement some of the normative framework that we have as a region and as a regional body, ECOWAS, and also within our respective countries. I mean, having the political will, the commitment, and the necessary resources to address the challenges that confront us without always relying on external partners to support us to deal with our own internal challenges. I think if government within the sub-region will take the responsibility and commit the necessary resources to respond to some of the challenges we are having, perhaps things might change a little bit. Because you see, all the external partners come with their own interests, you know, and it is important that we take responsibility. Like the axiom says, African solutions to African problems. We need to make that a reality. And that will only become a reality when there's political will and when there's commitment and when there's resources from ourselves.
Yeah, but can we be solely independent then in that course? Because that refrain has always been there, you know, Africans solving their own challenges. But you look at some geopolitical developments, Donald Trump has made his decision, and almost all West African countries are also being affected as a result of that. So can we really wean ourselves off the external powers?
Yes, it depends. We cannot do that as individual countries. We need to do that as a collective body of African Union, ECOWAS. You know, because without that, without being united, without going out there with a very united front, with one common voice, one common approach, we won't be able to surmount those challenges that you've spoken about. Because these are powerful, countries who have existed since the Second World War to 1945 up to today. And so if we'll be able to overcome this dependency syndrome, then the African unity that we've been talking about, this is the time we need to leverage on the challenges at the global stage to be able to put the African agency when it comes to issues of international relations.
There's no doubt we need to talk about democracy and possibly its dividend for the sub-region. Already some concerns being raised by Ambassador Fatal, and we'll go into that. But just a bit more on the Trump tariffs, for instance. Economic peace, obviously, is something on the agenda for most of the West African governments. If you're taking a look at the scale now and looking at the kind of responses that we're seeing from African governments, do you feel that they are moving into action, integrating as they should to promote, mutual prosperity within the sub-region? It's also a way of ensuring peace, isn't it?
Yeah. I think that for me, this is my own personal view. I've not seen much from the continent in terms of responding to some of the issues that are coming up with respect to the tariffs and all that. Like I said earlier on, if we look at this from an individual country perspective, then we'll not be able to deal with the consequences of some of these tariffs. But if we go as a continent, as a regional body, as African Union, we go with a more stronger, voice and also bargaining, power to be able to respond adequately to the consequences of these tariffs within our local, context. You recall we also have this African free trade, continental free trade area, all that, which is also still under implementation. We haven't realized the full potential yet, but it's one of the means that we can also use to surmount some of these
challenges that we're facing. Democracy, the elephant in the room for West Africa. The sub-region appears to be the place that is experiencing the highest forms of military takeover as we speak, across the continent. For you, how do we get past it? Because it's still a challenge for West Africa.
Yes. You see, the issue with democracy is not that people think democracy is not the best form of government for us. It is how we have practiced democracy within the region. We have democracies without development. We have democracies without people benefiting from the democratic governance system that we have. It looks that the political class has always been the beneficiary of the kind of democracy that we practice. And until that changes, until we have those constitutional reforms to ensure that power actually belongs to the people, we ensure that we promote inclusive governance, where the people are at the center of our governance processes, we are going to have some of these challenges with the military takeovers. If you recall, during the discussion this morning, an issue was made about when the coup happened in all these three countries. There were jubilations and all that. And the question was whether people were embracing military rule or whether people were fed up with the democratic system. And one of the responses was that no. The issue is that people feel that the new governments are going to give them hope for the future, and not really the fact that they accept the military as the alternative to the current governance system that we have, because it has not delivered. And they want the governance system to deliver to the people.
But speaking about the military itself, we're seeing some of them lean back into ECOWAS. For instance, in the case of Guinea-Bissau. Now we know that the military leader appears to have that taste of moving into democratic rule. Yet you have provisions within the treaty and some more works being done by ECOWAS to prevent former military leaders from transiting into democratic rule. It will be problematic, isn't it, knowing that you want them to come as fast as possible into the democratic zone. Disincentive or incentive on your part?
Yes, the country is actually Guinea, not Guinea-Bissau.
Oh, okay, so that's Guinea, yes, not Guinea-Bissau.
Yes,
Bissau.
I mean, it's clear within the ECOWAS protocol that once you stage a military coup, you are not eligible to contest. So this is where pragmatism comes in. Whether ECOWAS will sacrifice that provision in its protocol for the sake of ensuring a peaceful transition in Guinea-Bissau. It's a decision
Guinea,
Guinea,
right?
Sorry, Guinea. It's a decision that the heads of states will have to take, because the issue is that you want a restoration of constitutional order. How it is done is very important, but we've come to a point where ECOWAS needs to be very pragmatic, look at the reality of the situation, and respond. Which may sometimes contradict its own protocol. Because the insistence is what has led to the AES situation. And I'm not sure we want
to be in that situation
to also exit the bloc.
Right, let's deal with the final leg of this conversation. ECOWAS is obviously 50 now. Since 75, a number of developments have happened. The long-term aim is to build the ECOWAS of the people. Do you see that manifesting? Is this time for ECOWAS to reflect?
I think so. I think so. This is the time, this is an opportune time for ECOWAS to move from the ECOWAS of state to ECOWAS of people. This is the time that the people within the ECOWAS member states must see the value that ECOWAS presents. This is the time that ECOWAS has to be localized, within the grassroots and also the community level, for people to really appreciate the value that ECOWAS brings to the people. Because if we go to the street today, there are a lot of people who don't know much about ECOWAS. People learn about ECOWAS in schools and others, and after that, we don't know much about what ECOWAS is doing. And so I think that as part of the reforms that are ongoing in ECOWAS, one of the things that we need to look at is how ECOWAS can be more closer to the people, either through their representatives in parliament or either through civil society actors at the community level. I know there have been efforts that have been made, but it's still, not enough. And it is time that they move from what they have in their normative frameworks about having an ECOWAS of people. It is time for us to move from the state-centric approach to a more people-centered approach where the people will see the essence of ECOWAS within their life.
And obviously, your network, you've been working extensively in building peace across West Africa. But are there some more programs you intend to roll out, to augment the efforts of some of these regional bodies, such as ECOWAS?
Yes. Already, we've been doing a lot to support ECOWAS through our early warning program and also through our support to the ECOWAS conflict prevention framework, where we've jointly organized meetings with ECOWAS at different places across the region to really educate people about the ECOWAS framework and their role in terms of how they can support the ECOWAS conflict prevention effort, peace building effort in different countries within the region. I think the last one we did was in Gambia and also in Senegal with the Kofi Annan Peacekeeping Training Center, where we brought a lot of civil society actors and also community leaders together to educate them about ECOWAS and also some of the activities that requires their involvement. And we will continue to support ECOWAS efforts in that direction. Because in West Africa, WANEP is one of the civil society that have an MOU with ECOWAS. And it's not easy to get to that status. Right. And we'll continue to support ECOWAS efforts in that direction.
Do you have any message for Ghanaians and by extension, those within the ECOWAS sub-region on this?
Yes, I think that over time, there are a lot of criticisms against ECOWAS. But if we take an introspection, ECOWAS has achieved a lot. And this is the time that we need to also support ECOWAS to reimagine itself, to reform, to better serve the people of West Africa. And so the criticisms, I think we've done that enough. Yeah. Let's move from that to support ECOWAS efforts in terms of promoting regional integration and bringing the prosperity and the peace to the West African continent.
Well, peace is all we want. Dr. Festus Obin, thank you so much for spending some time with us here on Connect Africa. And right from the sub-regional matters midway through this month as well, Sudan's civil war will enter its third year, marking a grim milestone in the conflict that has actually defied every regional and international effort to bring peace. And according to the United Nations, we know it has spiraled into the world's worst humanitarian crisis. Meanwhile, the country faces some growing regional isolation issues driven by increasingly hostile rhetoric and also threats from the Sudanese army. We have more in the following report for you.
Despite repeated attempts by the African Union and the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD, to halt the war in Sudan, all peace initiatives have failed owing to what some experts see as the inflexibility of the military and its leader, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan. Recent political developments have added a new and alarming dimension to the crisis, with threats against some African nations, including South Sudan, the Central African Republic, and Kenya. Monitoring the developments closely is the Global Security for Africa Research and Good Governance, GLOSAG, which says the humanitarian crisis associated with the ongoing hostilities is alarming.
I think despite all effort by the international community, including African Union, and also the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, the General Abdel al-Burhan is becoming notorious and intransigent, which is trying to actually truncate peace in the Sudan country. So I think that the time has come for the international community to put more pressure on General Abdel so that there will be ceasefire.
As the concerns continue to grow, so is the humanitarian disaster, which has reached staggering proportions. According to the latest UN reports, 30 million Sudanese are now facing hunger and 15 million have been displaced internally and across borders. Figures that place Sudan at the epicenter of the world's gravest humanitarian emergency. Rather than seeking a negotiated solution, the army's continued pursuit of war has only worsened the crisis.
Yeah, I think things are becoming very precarious because as we are talking currently, if you look at the UN reports, about 50 million people were displaced and also they are facing serious humanitarian challenges, things like healthcare, education, food, etc. So I think the time is now that there should be a ceasefire. The international community, for instance, the Turkey and the Iran, they have to take their hands off the war and rather call for peace, so that the people who are going through this crisis should also endure peace.
But as peace efforts unravel and instability grows, there is mounting fear that Sudan may soon become a ticking time bomb, one that could destabilize the entire African continent.
And of course, that's all time will allow us here in Connect Africa with me, Blessed Sugan. For more news, all you have to do is to log on to myjoyonline.com. We have a number of stories there for you, including some more developments on the ECOWAS of the people. Thank you for spending some time with us. I am Blessed Sugan. We'll see you again. Bye-bye.